Yes, that's it. Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
In one city. In a small city. I know, huh?
Yeah.
There we go. Who did that? Shops? and
Yes.
Own businesses?
Yes, yeah, well, that's what it is, caregivers, it's all kinds of.
Okay.
It's a huge broad range. of
Okay.
things. Marijuana.
Yeah.
Don't use marijuana, each one has one of. You can ask, you like, contact them the most days. They give it to you. We know that all are saying. This is stressful. Either how that are alone. You care, you want to know. What's that? We know. Yeah, well. Oh, good. Yeah. I think we're gonna trust me. Well, I have. I put it to you.
Okay, we're good. Okay. So they're already. Yeah. Okay. Well, are you ready for your Christmas holiday? Yeah, that's like, yeah. They're ready. No, you're not going out to dinner, I'm like, right now, it's work. Got there at 7 o'clock to find the auditors. Yeah, it was a kind of a free surprise audit, so it was fine. It is, and you know, I'll just say, you know, some of the stuff went better than I had expected.
Okay, so it should. Oh,
That's all right, it's just the first of many to come in the next couple of months.
Always good.
Yeah.
We all make mistakes.
Oh, absolutely. Jimmy delivered in March. Right. He was waiting there for me to get in the office. I'm like, you ready to work? In my notes, I was so worried about it. Well, he comes from Ellsworth. I know. She arms from Ellsworth.
Well, we used to like that.
Well, at least I remember how I said we're back, because I had, I know what I should bring it back. I'm like, that's because you like it. Yours. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Yeah, 7 to 5. You do 4 10-hour days. What's 4 10-hour days? My work schedule. Your what? Work schedule. 7 to 5. I think it's recorded. Oh,
Is it over?
Sure.
I didn't hear it say. Yeah, it is recorded, yes, it is. First. That's my microphone.
Okay, let's call the planning board meeting to order. Do you have a quorum necessary to continue?
We do have a quorum.
Good, quorum is established. Todd Mellon is acting chair and I turn it over to Todd.
Give me one sec. So now that we've called the meeting to order. Sorry. Board meeting. Now that we've called the December 18th planning board meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is approval of the November 20 meeting minutes. Did anybody have any changes on that?
Page under subdivision documents, I highlighted a portion of a sentence that Tom can't remember, and I can't remember what he meant. So it reads, in additional, the meeting minutes is just stays on there. So it was like this sentence that didn't make any sense, and Tom can't remember. If someone else could remember, it would be great, but otherwise, I think we just.
I even tried to replay the tape a couple of times, and then I tried to get on YouTube and couldn't figure it out either.
I think we should just
I don't-
delete it.
Okay, yeah.
So with that amendment, I think that we accept the minutes as amended.
I second. All in favor? Motion passes. We don't have any old business. We're just gonna run right through this. No old business. The new business on the agenda tonight is the submittal deadlines. I was looking over that and I did have some questions. So I'm looking at the month of February. And I could easily be counting this wrong. But when I do the math, I get if the meeting date is on 2/19, 28 days prior to that should be 1/22.
Right, because it's always on Wednesdays.
Yeah. And there was a couple more that were similar to that. So for May, it shouldn't be 4/16. I think it should be 4/23.
So the meeting is on the 21st.
That was my math, but I could be wrong. 21 days, you need 7.
So yeah, so that should be the 23rd.
Got the same for. Got the same for the August meeting.
Date of the last meeting was the deadline for the 28 days submitted. That's what I was basing it on.
Okay,
I basically took the last.
Yeah.
The meeting.
it worked out most of the time. But it seems like when the meeting falls later. So in August, I think it should be July 23rd as well.
Because the meetings are 4 weeks apart. So shouldn't that be 28 days? Every 4 weeks we have a meeting. Oh, you know what? It has to do with 5 weeks.
Yeah. Right,
Calendars.
yeah,
They throw in new months.
yeah.
Going back to April, the March meeting should be,
So for the May, so I have for February, I think it should be January 22nd. For May, it should be April 23rd. And then for August, it should be July 23rd. And then for November, it should be October 22nd. And everything looked good for the 14 days. Yeah, exactly.
you.
In your defense, I had to look up how many days were in just about every single month, except for February.
When's the leap year?
I don't even know.
So I will make those changes. and get that posted.
Okay. Tom is not here tonight, so we won't have a planner update. Okay,
I'm gonna read-
yeah,
I'm
sure.
gonna paraphrase some of, says that the short-term rental policy, conservation, subdivision, exploratories, and affordable housing options seem to be in a state of limbo. He's had some in-person conversations with Shane Brady regarding his intentions to do a phase one mobile on Elmwood Road on his family's holdings. His hand sketched drawing lacked the necessary information required for proper board review, and his application fee has not been paid. Also, potential legal interpretations that may also be necessary before proceeding. And then he said, we've gotten a lot of feedback on short-term rental. I suggest we log and record all the letters and or emails, supporting the board documents of the emails. Note that I have tried to communicate with all concerned townspeople either by email, on the phone, or in person, and spoken to Steve, our interim town administrator, about STRs, and he may discuss next steps with the select board at last week's meeting. Optimistically, this will give the planning board some direction on whether this is going policy route or not. And then he also said he liked the idea of adding a CEO update to the agenda, which we've added, so that's
Okay.
what Tom communicated.
Okay. So as far as, John, since we have you here, as far as the short-term rental, does the planning board have anything that we need to do at this point?
No, nothing at all.
Okay,
We're trying to hire somebody right now, so we're not doing
okay,
any policy stuff. We won't do it until we get the office.
okay, very good. We'll keep that off the agenda
Yep.
then. And, Bill?
Yes.
CEO update.
Yes.
Love to hear it.
Yeah, I'll read some of this and then I'll add. It's been a busy go. We've had 20 new permits divided between minor electrical and actually more expensive electrical and plumbing upgrades, heat pump installations, solar installations, septic installations, and 2 new building permits. One of those is near you. And just every one of these permits, in addition to existing permits that are already in work, there are countless inspections. Just amazing how many inspections there are, as far as like, your foundation inspections, your electrical whether it's a service entrance, whether it's electrical panel upgrade or public installation, so many inspections. So it's really busy, Tim's been really busy. We have a new single lot on Elmwood Road. That was a good experience for myself. Tim's, of course, so instrumental in his historical knowledge, because it also was on shoreland, on the wetlands area. But, the surveyor really knew our ordinances, town codes, town laws, things like that, state laws and other. And he was just so great at helping, making sure that whole package was completed properly. And we've got another single lot that they're actually implemented, that they actually haven't done the application yet. It looks like it's pretty shortly.
And of course, already that single lot on Elmwood Road is already, they've got a driveway permit from the state. Since it's on the Elmwood Road, it gets a driveway permit from the state, not from the town. And he's moving forward, and he said it's only a matter of time. He's gonna be looking for his building permits. So you'll get the building permits, then maybe you'll just do the foundation, but then you'll come back later on to get the service entrance electrical permit. Then you'll come back later on to get the, depending on how detailed your plans are, you'll have your electrical permits for the rest of your house. So we'll have a lot of permits coming through for that one and this other one that's in the works as well. We've had a few visits from realtors because there are some plots that are either for sale, plots of land that are for sale right now, or there's discussions with other people that are thinking about selling lots where they've contacted realtors, what can I do with this lot? So we've met them in our office, or they'll come into the office, and we're required, of course, to give them all the information about that lot. It's public knowledge for the most part. But they'll ask so what is your backlot ordinance? What is your ordinance for a subdivision? What's your conservation subdivision? So we'll point them to the documentation, help them out a little bit as much as we can. So that'd be interesting to see how busy that could be, depending on how those lots are purchased or sold. We're still looking at into a draft policy that will allow food trucks to operate in Pownell. We've had some conversations with Bradbury Mountain, who's already hosts some food trucks from time to time. We get a lot of feedback from them on how they handle the timing, et cetera. Then the policy and the draft policy, the draft application, much of which is taken from Freeport's, but a lot less. They'll be available before the January 13th select board meeting. We're updating the CEO's webpage on the Pownell website to make it more clear for residents and contractors for what you need. What do you need to get a single lot and actually start? What do you need for a building permit? Because it's there somewhere, but it's not as clear as we felt it should be. When someone asks us, we'd say, "Oh, what do we need?" It's like we know it's there. We were able to find it, but it wasn't as easy for them to find it. And then also for a contractor, let's say you're an electrical contractor. What kind of inspections are you going to need? For a foundation, what kind of inspections are you going to need? Because if we don't get, sometimes they may not give us a call. I mean, they can't, during the transition, it became a little bit apparent that they'd call, and if there's no one there to answer the phone, the excavator's there ready to backfill, they're gonna wait for us. So we've been communicating with the contractors, and they're much better with us. But it gets around pretty quickly that if the town isn't inspecting, every contractor said, get it done, it's like, and is it done? How well is it done? Let's see. Oh yeah, we just, Tim and I went to a seminar on the 2015 to 21 building code, the IBC, which is going to be adopted probably this year by the state of Maine, which then that'll fall to MUBEC. So we'll have to enforce the 2021 code as well. The 2023, we learned today, National Electrical Code actually has been adopted by MUBEC. So we should be starting to enforce that now. We were at 2020. We also, the 2021 International Building Code, Residential Code rather, also includes requirements for indoor air quality, meaning an ERV, something to bring in fresh air and take the stale air out. So there's a lot of requirements for fresh air for houses now. And also today, we attended a webinar on issues with cannabis enforcement. Depending on which, there's different state laws and things, ordinances and laws, or ordinances and policies you can put in place at the local level, some are at the state level, and how do they mesh? Whether it's medical marijuana or whether it's adult use marijuana, whether you're cultivating, whether you're producing, a whole bunch of details on how to address marijuana. That's about it. It's very busy. Yeah.
For that update. Appreciate that. We appreciate all the work that you're doing, for sure. When we move on to communications, thinking about Tom's comment regarding the short-term rental, we should definitely record those as we've received those. I don't know the best way to do that.
What I'm not doing, what I'm doing now, and I'm not sure it's the best way, is I have a folder in the planning board email that is just STR, so I'm just logging those in. And I did send it to everyone, so you have it. Whether they should be printed and put somewhere, I can't answer that. But they are in a secure place. So anybody who could get into the planning board email would see all the folders
Okay.
by project and so on, so.
Is there a good way to handle those communications?
That's the correct way to have a folder, and that folder needs to be maintained for 3 years.
Okay.
So, and the select board does the same thing. We record all our correspondence. We keep ours in hard copy. It's just as appropriate to keep them in a
Okay.
email.
We
3
don't,
years.
we don't need to make any sort of
No.
public acknowledgement that we received.
Well, it's on your agenda that I've seen the agenda with the names of letters. All you need to record publicly is that X, Y, and Z have written.
Which we haven't done.
Well, I respond to every person saying, received it, I will be forwarding to the planning board. Is
What
that,
it should be is that under correspondence, you should list the writer of the letter, nature of the letter, date received
On the agenda.
on the agenda.
So that way now it's public knowledge that,
Public knowledge that you
so,
can retro date your, so go back into your folder.
Mhm.
Next meeting, just list the people who have written, date you received it.
okay.
okay. So that would be added to next month's agenda, just saying, under correspondence, these were received late, yeah, okay. All right,
And we don't have to
No,
read
you
them.
don't.
Yeah,
Select
okay.
board has to read it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They're appropriate. Language is appropriate.
Yeah, yeah.
I know when we had a public hearing with many, many comments, we ended up, it was our public hearing that we collated all those comments into a large document and sent that out. But so when the time comes, we'll revisit that, if the time comes. I also received some correspondence or that the meetings were not posted on the YouTube channel. And I emailed the info officer and she said that's really not something she does. So need to have an administrator, I guess, in place to do that.
Not quite sure I understand. Like,
So people who said, I want to see meetings on the YouTube channel, but they haven't been posted. So I corresponded with Jaylene, is that her name, Jaylene? And she said, well, that's not something I do. And she let Steve, the interim administrator, know. And I don't know the upshot of that.
they were automatically transferred to. Yeah, but they're not. Sure we do.
Right. And the most recent meetings.
October 30th is the last meeting. We had a little,
Recorded. Back. Have some-
right.
Does anybody have anything that they need to bring before the board?
Just a minor update that I could have added earlier. So as Tim and I have been reviewing, getting more and more intimate, like really reading every word of the ordinances and finding out exactly what is this saying. We found a couple issues or a couple that may be brought to the board in the future. For example, the backlot ordinance. And this is surprisingly common. Let's say you have 350 feet. If you have 350 feet, you can set off a road frontage. You can take that 350 feet, create a 50-foot right of way for a road for a driveway to that back lot. That's the backlot ordinance. But if you had 360 feet, then you can't create a backlot ordinance. You have 60 feet. So that means you can create a private road. So you, according to the ordinance, then you have to, we're forcing them to create a private road. You can't just do a driveway. So you're gonna have to come, in most cases, you'd have to come back 300 feet and then another 300 feet to get your road frontage. So we're saying, okay, why do we, this is 10 feet. Why do we make them put a private road in if they have 360 feet? But if you have a 350 feet, then you could do a backlot. So that's something we'll discuss in the future.
Does the backlot ordinance say it can't be greater than 350 feet?
You know, the exact wording, I don't know. Tim is very clear on it though, clearer than I am. But that's a couple of things that he and I just discussed today and we took these notes. Another one is on the single lot ordinance. For example, let's say you have 10 acres and your house, 10 acres with the house, and you take 2 acres with your house and you want to keep that and you want to sell the other 9 acres, or, well, that creates a subdivision. Those 8 acres become a subdivision. Well, then if that future owner wants to take that subdivision, that subdivided piece that wants to take 2 acres off, they have to come to the planning board because it was from an existing subdivision. But really, and that requires us to come to you, and the owner's gonna have to spend $2,000 in probably 3 months to actually, what is really almost still just a single lot. And on paper, in 2 dimensions, it's just a single lot. So should we be forcing the people to?
Their 5-year limit, if it.
Yes.
was yeah, I think the rule makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Because it's preventing people from just, instead of creating like one workaround, a subdivision ordinance would be you subdivide and then you sell a portion and then you subdivide again and then you subdivide again. And so you're creating a subdivision without actually following the ordinance. Yeah, very quickly. So
Every 5 years, right? You would. But in the end, or
no, if you were to change, like if you were to change what you're talking about, you'd be circumventing any subdivision ordinance that we have.
They don't have to come back
Okay,
to us if
okay.
they wait 5 years before subdividing. If they do it in less than 5 years.
okay,
Then they have
It's
to
a
come back
subdivision.
to us.
okay, that we figured that to be something, yeah, we didn't understand the why.
I also,
Yep.
I don't know, I'm questioning the interpretation of the backlot ordinance as well. That doesn't make any
Yeah, it
much
does.
sense the way,
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't say it can't be greater than 350. So if it's greater than 350, you still just put in a right of way. You don't have to put in a road.
yeah, I wouldn't think you would have to.
So I don't understand why that would,
That's good, that's good.
I can't remember the exact wording, but I know it doesn't say less than
Okay, good.
350 feet.
Yeah, Tim and I'll dig into it, keep digging into it to see if that's a problem or not. That was the current, as of this afternoon, that's kind of what we had interpreted, but it's hopefully.
And I appreciate you as the CEO or co-CEO or assistant CEO bringing these before us because you're the real world face of what it is that we're doing. So I definitely appreciate hearing how it's going in the real world and the sort of things that you
Well,
guys are seeing.
that's one thing that's really good in the ordinance. Totally makes sense that if the CEO is ever unsure, we can always come to the planning board.
Right.
That's, that's written right in there, which makes sense, of
I
course.
appreciate
Yeah.
that communication.
Plus the pop quiz is planning board is A+. Respond to 2 questions.
Yes, yes.
I'm impressed. You knew exactly what reason behind single lot subdivision.
Was that a test?
Yes, yes, we staged that actually. Yes.
Anything else? Anyone? No? Next month, you'll be gone, Marcia.
I'll be gone, but we tabled the new language that would be in compliance with LD 2003. And if we need to tackle that in January so that we can schedule the public hearings in the February, March timeframe.
Let's add that to the agenda.
Do we think we'll have any other ordinances that we need to tackle to get done for June?
I don't think so. I think that you'll have some modification that will have to go to the town meeting that will come from the CEO's office. Just definitions and clarifications, but there will be no, as far as I see, there'll be no, I don't think the planner will get anywhere on this year.
Other than what he's already done, you mean?
I really, nothing. We're not gonna get very far. So, I don't think the planning board has to plan on doing any ordinance work other than collaborating with the CEO,
Okay.
which I think is very valuable.
Yes,
I don't want to dismiss that.
for sure. Anything we can do to make the ordinances clearer, it's really important.
So I didn't understand, are we probably not doing anything with the language he suggested, or we're just gonna patch it in and,
Sort of mention that by the time we get to the point where we're gonna be able to amend our language, is gonna be.
Right.
Being held in 2004.
Mhm.
We've already been alerted in the office.
So we'll strike that.
I would strike that.
Okay. So we have nothing.
That's an important step.
Yeah.
That I think all towns just go. Tell us what to do.
Yeah.
I think none of us were in favor of this sort of patch.
Yeah,
have to
it didn't
comply
make a
with the
lot of
law.
sense. Yeah.
Where our language is complies with the law, it's basic law. There's some nuances that state is responsible for.
Well, I mean, even if our language did comply with the law, right, in a way, it doesn't really matter, the state law supersedes our own language. So if the developer said, we're gonna do it this way, this complies with state law, and our legal people said, they're right, then we would have to let them do it.
We're really just trying to stay up.
Yeah.
Lost the ability. Home rule.
So other than that, is there anything else?
Not that I know of.
So maybe at this point, if we don't have anything, we'll plan on meeting in January, but if nothing comes up, if we don't hear from the planner, I don't see a point in having a meeting, as much as I like to see you guys once a month. We'll,
Well, we would have had, if there was new business, we would have heard by
I would have
now.
heard by now.
Suggest to put a bookmark on the meeting date.
Yep,
And then
I'll talk to Tom.
2 weeks before that meeting date. Decide via email. Make sure that all present are apprised of no sense to sit here. Especially in January.
Right, agreed.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that was record time. I move that we adjourn the December meeting.
Second.
All in favor? All right. That has got to be a record.
William?